Good job, Kun Bent. Finished almost on time. World champion thus far in the whole conference. So our next speaker will be Scaling Bioenergy Solutions in Maritime Bunkering. I'd like to introduce Mr. Choong Sheen Mao, Director, Equatorial Marine and Marine Fuel Management Services. Mr. Choong, are you here? Yes, please. Okay, you'll have to come up and help me. Yeah. Oh, ow, oh, ow.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to CIS and my friend Rizal for inviting me to this summit and to deliver this presentation on Bridging Today and Tomorrow, Scaling Bioenergy Solutions in Maritime Bunkering. So I hope to provide everyone with a better understanding of the international marine fuels industry, the relevance and significance of bioenergy to international shipping, and the importance of a strong ecosystem to support and exploit bioenergy bunkering. So for those who are not from the maritime industry, just to share, marine fuel and bunkers, they mean the same thing. Here, let me introduce my company, Equatorial Marine Fuel. So we are a vertically integrated marine fuel supplier. We're involved in both the physical trading of the commodity itself, as well as owning, operating, and managing the assets to transport, store, and supply such commodities, which are marine fuels. And in both 2022 and 2023, Equatorial was recognized by Singapore Maritime and Port Authority as the largest marine fuel supplier by volume in Singapore. So we do about 5 million tons of marine fuel a year. This is across all our products. Just to, again, highlight, Singapore is the largest bunkering hub in the world and accounts about 20% of the entire world's volume. As such, Singapore is quite reflective of the international shipping companies' buying behavior, current buying behavior for marine fuels, and also influential on what is their prospective behavior. So I think Singapore is always a very strong bellwether in this aspect. We also have shared to show context for some other ports. So when we say bunker volumes, who are the people taking this marine fuel? These are international ship owners for their vessels coming over to the port of Singapore to leave this volume and then head off to other ports to discharge or to transship their cargoes. Okay. So depending on fuel prices, bunkers typically account for about 60% of the operating costs for a ship. And naturally, shipping companies want to look for the cheapest compliant fuel. Bioenergy definitely is not the cheapest fuel, and as compared to what the marine industry is using at the moment, fuel oil, gas oil, and even LNG. So it's therefore useful for me to set the context on why bioenergy is relevant for the shipping or for the maritime industry. So at the international level, almost all ships are regulated indirectly by the IMO. And you can see the IMO's 2023 greenhouse gas strategy envisages that we want to lower the carbon intensity for international shipping by at least 40% by 2030, and also significantly to actually increase the uptake of zero or near zero GHG emission technologies, fuel, and energy sources, representing about 5 to 10% of the energy used by the international shipping by 2030. So in this regard, you can see that actually biofuels has already been recognized as one of these leading solutions for maritime bunkering at the international level. And another very significant region that we look at for shipping is, of course, the EU. You can see that EU has already implemented two significant regulations to reduce emissions from shipping. One of it is the the EU emissions trading scheme, where it's trying to incentivize or actually put a price on what we call EU allowances for to offset in a way, the carbon emitted by companies. So this has already been implemented to the shipping companies. And you can see that, of course, there is a price. So for those of us who are price sensitive, what's the point of discussing when we don't know how expensive or how cheap or what's the additional compliance cost to be. For ships going to the EU, we already do know what is the difference between, if I have to pay for additional allowances versus using conventional fuels or not lowering my efficiency. The other significant regulation is the Fuel EU Maritime. And again, this has just come in, and if you can see that over the next couple of years, all the way to 2050, there's already a target to reduce it all the way to 80%. So at the start, it's lower. Certain fuels, such as biofuel, can help to achieve and avoid financial penalties for ship owners, whereas down the road, what are the other solutions that we are looking at. And why is this important? Of course, other than the middle to long term, if you're looking at long term, definitely you need to have a good strategy on what kind of fuel you're going to use. And it's relevant because for shipping companies, especially those who are in the business of ship owning and operating, how long is your charter party going to be? 10 years, 20 years? For a ship itself, when we build a vessel, we look at about 20 to 30 years. So what seems so far away actually is very relevant to us now. So today, the most popular biofuel, marine fuel, is B24 and B30, which offer good carbon emission reduction of about 20 to 28% compared to conventional fuel. And presently, B100, which is pure biofuel, is the most competitive, cost-competitive, near-zero marine fuel if we compare to, for example, green or blue ammonia or methanol. And biofuels' competitiveness is further strengthened by the fact that it's a drop-in fuel. So in the maritime industry, I presume as with other industries, when we say biofuel, it's the liquid biofuel. In the maritime industry, which conforms to ISO standards 8217, but for bioenergy, of course, we do see biogas coming in strong as well because of the competitiveness of LNG and how bioenergy as a whole is seen to be not just a transition fuel, but extending, the lifespan of some of the conventional fuels, which are very, very price competitive. Here's a slide just to share some statistics that what we share about is not just merely theoretical, but in reality, we do see the volumes picking up. Of course, compared to what we are doing on the conventional side, this is still small, but I think it's a very strong signal that, look, it's, being supply is actually happening, it's actually increasing, and the question is that what would the trajectory be like? So to share, at Equatorial, we are proud to share that we have supplied our first B100 biofuel stem to our customer earlier this year. This is significant because you cannot supply B100 bunkers with conventional bunker tankers. You would need to, like what we have, actually brought in new generation bunker tankers, which are both product oil tankers as well as chemical tankers, to be able to supply such products. Before that, a normal bunker tanker would only be able to supply up to B30 biofuel blends, and B100, we are not just supplying as a one-off kind of trial, we do regular supplies with our customer. So I think it gives us a front seat to not just look at operational, commercial aspects, but also to really interface with the customer, what is their plan moving forward and how they calculate their prices in relation to other decarbonization solutions. And it also gives us the confidence to come here today to share with you why bioenergy is a viable solution. So marine fuel as a product by itself cannot be viewed in isolation. We can say, look, fuel prices are much cheaper compared to others or in relation to conventional fuel. But actually, there's also a complex ecosystem that supports the supply or bunkering of biofuel to customer vessels in terms of infrastructure, safety, regulation, fuel testing, shipbuilders, engine makers, emergency response, and so on and so forth. But because biofuels that meet the ISO 8217 specifications, which is the specifications that we use to make sure that marine fuel supplied to ship owners are of minimum quality that the engines can accept them, because such biofuels rely on almost the same supply chain, from the infrastructure, storage, transportation, engine makers, and what we have mentioned before. Biofuels definitely have a very strong advantage against other alternative marine fuels. And similarly for biogas or liquefied biogas, they also can leverage on much of what the LNG industry has already established for LNG bunkering. And this is a very critical factor in scaling up of bioenergy in maritime bunkering. To share some challenges of scaling of biofuel, first, there are many, but one of the very obvious one is, what would the eventual availability of feedstock be? At present, the most common biofuel which is supplied would be eucalyptus, and what we are concerned, maybe in a good way, I guess, is that when SAF takes off, will there be a cannibalization of the feedstock? And definitely aviation industry is going to pay much more. In that case, what would happen? Definitely today, we are very confident to say that, look, biofuel is the most competitive one, but moving forward, definitely the market dictates that suppliers will always sell to the highest bidder, and we are looking at it closely. But of course, for biofuels, it's not just a single product. We use the term very loosely, but there are a lot of other types of biofuel. There's HVO, there is also palm oil, which, of course, there are certain issues in terms of regulation as well. And I think for us, as we exploit, I think the first step is that shipping has accepted biofuels as a credible marine fuel. And then next is that how do we explore other forms of biofuel as well and make sure that they still continue to be price competitive and compliant. And next, so to share, of course, while biofuels is the most price competitive compliant fuel, it is still much more expensive compared to conventional fuels. So even if we factor as what we have shared just now, IMO and EU carbon pricing mechanisms, some of you here might be aware of what happened a couple of weeks ago at the IMO when they tried to pass the net zero framework. Basically, I think the US and Saudi interfered, and at the end of the day, the whole framework is delayed by, so-called the whole discussion meeting's been delayed by a year. And again, what does it mean? It means that over the short term, perhaps biofuels may not be that price competitive compared to conventional, but at the same time, does it give biofuels or bioenergy a comparative advantage, against other so-called green or blue marine fuels? With the onset of decarbonization regulations, bioenergy as a marine fuel product can and will be price competitive against conventional marine fuels. The question then turns on whether or not the marine fuel supply chain, the ecosystem, can support international shipping in exploiting bioenergy as a marine fuel solution. Let me elaborate a bit more on the ecosystem required to scale up bioenergy for maritime bunkering. Again, I have mentioned a few times that the ecosystem, and the supply chain between bioenergy and existing conventional marine fuels are similar. And this is very, very important because any of us who have calculated the investment cost, operating costs, having to, redevelop, a lot of things. It's expensive. It will come, but when we look at the shorter time horizon, we see this is the so-called advantage that biofuel have. But even with the existing supply chain, adjustments at every level of the supply chain is still required. For example, ports must ensure that this new product can be safely and efficiently bunkered at their ports. It's not so straightforward to just say we can supply a biofuel to customer vessels. I think our example is that we have to bring in our new generation chemical bunker tankers in order to do so. The port had to make sure that they have new emergency response dealing with biochemical chemical spill is different from dealing with an oil spill. While there are similarities, insurers may not be comfortable to underwrite, and all this adds to so-called either deterrence or barriers to scale up bioenergy. Financial institutions must be willing to finance. It's not just purely financing oil products anymore, it's financing chemical, or gas products. And significantly, issues of transparent and reliable carbon accounting must be in place as well. And, with all these additional requirements, what we also view is that digitalization is very important. You have to have a lot of exchange of reliable, certified, documents, calculations happening simultaneously, and therefore not just the physical, infrastructure is important. The digital, and you go into digital, you have issues of things like cybersecurity, and hence, I think we view that no single actor can do it on its own. It is critical that both the industry and government must be committed. It's a whole ecosystem. Of course, we say government because government has more influence on the specific port in question. But of course, when we look at supranational agencies such as the UN, the IMO, there has to be that kind of framework in order to scale her up, whether at a national, regional, or international level. Then only then, can all these parties reap the benefit of, bioenergy that bioenergy brings to maritime bunkering. I understand that due to the complexity of this subject, I would have inadvertently glossed over a number of issues. Please feel free to ask me further questions that you may have. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Choong.